Yeah, hi Pranjal. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi. Yeah,
Okay.
you're audible.
Yeah, okay. So Pranjal, first of all, congratulations on clearing UPSC means, and welcome to the Prayas India mock interview sessions. So I'll just introduce to you the panelists. First, we have Amresh Kumar sir. So he is the founder and CEO of the Prayas India. Then we have Sankar Mochan Jha sir. He works in the Ministry of External Affairs. Then we have Pratik Srivastav sir, who is an IAS officer. And then we also have on board today with us Umesh Gupta sir, who is an IPS officer. Okay, so we'll begin our interview, and now I'll hand over the control to Amresh sir.
Good evening, panel members, to all the
Uh,
panel members.
Thank you, Akash sir. Good evening, Pranjal.
Good evening, Amresh.
So, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Pranjal, please introduce yourself to us.
Okay. So, I belong to a place called Unnao from Uttar Pradesh, and I did my schooling in Unnao itself. My higher secondary was there from Kanpur, and post to that, I did my bachelor's from Indian Institute of Science. I did my bachelor's from in research degree, and post to that, I did my master's from Imperial College London. And after that, I came to India. So I was on a scholarship in my master's program. And after coming back to the country, so I had a bond with the Indian government to work at least for an year in the country. So did that job. And that by that time, I got an interaction with a lot of bureaucrats and the people from Niti Aayog. So I got a bend towards the civil services. And with the COVID coming in, I got a time to prepare, and I thought I'll give a serious attempt, and I started preparing for civil services.
Very well. Okay. So, Pranjal, you have done your master's from Imperial College, right? Okay. So, why don't you think like doing some research work? You should go in some research field only. Maybe in scientist, you can be a scientist also, right? So you have changed your mind into civil services. So any specific reason that has motivated you?
Yes, sir. I think when I was in London itself, so there is a commission, Commonwealth Scholarship Commission. So they motivate you a lot towards the social development side. So actually, when I was doing my research project, they taught me that everything, all the things which you do, it should have some certain utility to the society. And what I have personally felt in India right now, the research and development is not addressing the problem of social development as per se. I mean, it's like quite dissociated from the society itself. And India needs right now certain civil servants which have that scientific aptitude and temperament. So I thought that as a civil servant, I will be better able to contribute towards the development of the country. So that is what somewhat motivated me towards the civil services.
Okay, but I think so. India needs research and development more than the administrative officer. You could have contributed more being like a pure scientist.
Sir, when I was doing this R&D job, what I have realized was that India right now in research is not addressing the problems which is peculiar to India. So suppose whatever research projects which we are carrying out, it's just an extension what West is doing. We are not meeting the demands what our country needs. Like suppose if I have to come up with I was working on an R&D project in solar cells. So now the solar cells which we are making, fabricating in the lab, I mean, when we don't have an indigenous semiconductor manufacturing in the country, how can my research be utilized in the country itself when I don't have an indigenous manufacturing base? So whatever research project I was doing was addressing some other nations like South Korea's and other problems, not peculiar to India. So in that way, I found that research environment right now in India is not conducive for the country's development part. Whereas there are certain projects in the government itself which are carried out by civil servants, like having this rural economy, making it sustainable, which also needs kind of research aptitude. I thought that as a like my background is there, and with like PM Kusum is there, suppose, and then there are other government schemes which are happening, which also needs a certain technical mindset. And in that way, if I go in those things, my research aptitude will help in bringing actual the development which India needs right now, rather than just sitting in lab for 8 hours and lead. I mean, that is not yielding any results.
Okay, so do you mean that there is no meaning of doing R&D in our nation or in our country, or
No, I'm not saying there is no mean. It's just first we have to. I mean, the R&D in the country should understand that the the main reason for ND is to address what country needs. It's not about just having and developing something. So first that mismatch is there. I mean, first this academic community has to find out what country needs. Suppose like as a energy, if I talk about energy, does India needs research on petroleum and natural gas, or does India need research on having, utilizing, or going through and evaluating your own resource base and find which energies can be conducive for India's development? For that matter, if you allow me, I can give an example. Suppose Ladakh. Now, Ladakh, if you see, the potential is for geothermal energy. So the scientific community should do the research on geothermal energy and make that sustainable system for the Ladakh. But what research what research and R&D will be doing in the country? They will be researching on petroleum, natural gas, or increasing the blending the petrol and all. So you see, there is a mismatch. What country demands, what country is actually doing. So that lacuna was there in research. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it will come with time. It will come, but currently that's a problem, I think, which is there in R&D.
Yes, but my concern is if we leave our core subject, so how that time will come?
Sorry?
So if we leave our core subject, suppose being a research person, if I am not very much satisfied with what the administration going with respect to that research and development work, or the work is not getting appreciated, and I am switching my career to something else. So how this research and development work will carry on, or how?
Yeah. So I think if you see my background also, my projects were all different. Like I was not continuing a single project. So every year I was getting a different project at R&D. And it's just like with the same with the government. As a civil servant also, when you will be working in the field, you will be getting new projects daily. That will not be the lab work. So I think the research is like somewhat thought of as something which is done in the lab. It's not like that. I mean, when you have research mindset, and also even if you get the development projects, you use your research brain, or you use policies and all that also needs a research aptitude. So yeah, diversity in civil services is there and challenges are there. So I guess when I am working as a technocrat or civil servant, that R&D mindset, that R&D, the experience which I have gained, that thing will always be there. So it's not like that I'm completely switching. That mindset will definitely help.
Okay.
And even like in this also, as you see my projects, bachelor's, every year I was doing different projects. It was all different. It was not that I'm continuing my previous research only. So it was all about how quickly you tackle those projects, how quickly you understand the demand, how quickly you come up with the solution, and how quickly you deliver the results. So that thing I think the bureaucracy demands right now.
Okay. So Pranjal, you are a science student. Yes. So could you please let me know how science and technology can help you for the better administration?
So if you see India currently is working as a welfare state. So, and the population of the country is now crossing around 130 crores. It's about 130 crores, around that. So now with that much huge population, if we can leverage the science and technology, then it will be better in the administration part. It will be better in delivering the services part. It will be better in reaching out to the people. So that which is there in the country's development, science and technology, using this artificial intelligence, using the DBT, which is using science and tech, the e-governance, they can definitely help in the administration as well as bringing out that inclusiveness which we talk about in our country for the development.
Okay, so could you please let me know more about artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence is something which is gaining a lot of impetus right now, because it's it's a technology which keeps evolving itself. So with time, it learns, it adapts to the environment, and this is very beneficial with the coming. As you say, fourth industrialization is coming and technologies are developing. So artificial intelligence has diversified into health sector, into biotech sector, into all kind of sectors, and it is actually giving a huge, positive output also.
Could you please give me an example where you can observe the installation of artificial intelligence?
In the government per se, or general?
Any general example?
I think if you see about the social medias and all, if you talk about the Google search engines, and if you talk about the e-marketplace, all are using artificial intelligence in data mining, data storage, understanding the market, and addressing the products in those ways. So they are all using artificial intelligence.
No, I want a bit depth answer here, like how social media is using artificial intelligence.
So seeing whether the message which has been displayed is having hatred comments or not. So Facebook has come up with an artificial intelligence technology that they can decode the message. Suppose the message is in regional language and it contains certain words which can create social disharmony. So using artificial intelligence, you can actually find that whether this will create or not, whether disharmony or whether it's something offensive which should not be there. So they automatically detect that, and they just remove those content from the social media, these softwares.
Okay, so could you please let me know about augmented reality and virtual reality?
Yes. So virtual reality is all. It's like they create a lot. But I mean, environment which is not existent itself. Whereas augmented reality is something which they take the infrastructure, but they add on something to it. Suppose there can be a physical infrastructure where you can see different kind of images. That is augmented reality. Virtual reality is you are dissociated from the environment, and it's all everything is like just created on its own. It's nothing is true in that.
Okay, so could you please give me an example where you can see like the practical of these technologies?
Yes, sir. So it's mostly if you have an idea of gaming and gaming technologies, and in that thing, I guess virtual reality is kind of. I mean, they are both augmented reality and virtual reality. It's just augmented reality is you feel the things also alongside. I mean, they are just augmented. They are just added on something. But virtual is just you will get a cam kind of thing, and you will everything will be there, and which is fictitious.
So in augmented reality, is the device is attached with the user?
Yeah, suppose okay, I have an example. Laser tag game. If you have played that, so laser tag game is like you will be given with a laser gun, and when you go there, there will be an augmented reality kind of thing created. But virtual reality is like seeing a 5D movie in a with that camera on. So that is kind of virtual reality.
Okay, so Pranjal, you have mentioned that your one of the hobbies or interests is teaching. So which subject do you like to teach?
Actually, sir, that's hobby I think came from my bachelor itself. So at that time at ISU, the academic curriculum was so much intense that we used to generally divide the work among ourselves. And at the like at during exams, we used to teach each another person. So at that time, I started. I mean, evaluating my teaching potential, and I realized that I was very good at explaining stuff to my friends. So they also told me that, yeah, you are very good at explaining things. And there was also a kind of initiative, notebook drive. So as you said, the subject, it's like moreover related to whatever I study. Suppose I have learned some concept and I want to try to explain to my friends, so I can explain it in a very lucid way. That thing is there. And there was also, as I mentioned, there was a campaign notebook drive kind of thing where as an IISc student, we used to go to local schools to kind of explain the science and make science enriching and interesting for them. So I did participate in that also. And I realized that, yeah, I mean, I good at it. And it's like I like teaching to students.
Who is your favorite teacher and why?
I guess that is personal one because my professor at IISc, Professor Sushoban, I would like to mention. You don't know him, but he was like a very good mentor for me because I think other than the academic, he motivated me towards creating a meaningful life. I mean, it's just not about money. It's just not about academic CGPA. He motivated me towards creating something which will have a utility to the society. So in that sense, I think he was one of the best mentors which I had at IISc, and I truly value him for being a very good teacher and mentor.
Okay, so Pranjal, thank you very much for answering my queries. I request to Sri Umesh Gupta sir to ask some questions.
Hello, Pranjal. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Hello, sir.
Okay, fine. So, Pranjal, we will be discussing what you have spoken already with Amresh, sir, right? First, you spoke about the research and development in our country.
Yes, sir.
And you told that there is no utilization or very less utilization of whatever achievements that you have acquired.
Sir, I meant that there's a mismatch between
Sorry, Pranjal, I would interrupt you. I have not finished my question.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to ask you that whatever academic achievements you have, do you feel that you are overqualified for the civil services?
I don't think, sir, it's not being overqualified because I guess when I was in the job itself, an R&D job also, that was also, see, the mindset is to develop something which has a social utility. When I was in R&D, that social utility part was missing. So I guess with the government, there will be an opportunity, ample opportunity. Definitely, if I will be just stuck to the job part, 9 to 5, it will be considered that I am like overqualified for it. But if I get the chance to use that opportunity to create something innovative of my own in the system, that can create a huge impact in society. And I think in that sense, I won't be overqualified for this job. It has an image that it is very 9 to 5. You have to just implement the schemes. But I think as a civil servant, if you put that innovativeness, the technology and all, so right now there's a huge potential that you can bring a good change in the ground level part. So I think if I'm working that, then it's not being overqualified for that.
Okay, you told that you cannot utilize your R&D for the social utilities, right?
When I
But
was there in the lab work, yeah.
okay, no problem. At the same time, you spoke about the PM Kusum scheme,
Yes, sir.
right? What is that scheme for?
So that PM Kusum is for having a decentralized energy security kind of thing. So we are a geographical country. We have a huge advantage of being a good having good solar resource. So if we can use that energy, then we can meet our energy demands also, and moreover, it will create remunerative aspects for farmer also, because they will get a power at almost zero cost, and the government is subsidizing these solar panels, so they will have a proper water irrigation facility using these solar panels, as well as without paying any extra cost. So in that sense, they will be energy secure, and it will also reduce the burden which they have in terms of the payment of like irrigation utilization or kind of this.
Okay, can you spell the complete name of this scheme? What is Kusum for?
It's Urja Solar PM Krishi. Sorry,
Okay,
sir.
let
Yeah,
me help you out. It is PM Kisan Urja
Kisan
Suraksha Evam Utthan Mission,
Mission. Yes.
right? And you spoke that you could help with your R&D, whatever capabilities that you have gained. How would you do that as a civil servant, considering that you are working as a civil servant?
Yes, sir. So I think when these the CDOs positions which are there in the system, they get development funds from different government schemes, be it Manrega, be it PM Kusum, be it other kind of schemes. So if a civil servant uses discretionary aptitude to integrate and interconvert this scheme, then energy security at a grassroots level can be created. I can give you an example with a model. Suppose we take a model village at some UP state. I belong to UP, so I will take a model village from UP. Now, if we evaluate the local base resources of that states, that place, it will be like biogas, biocompost, and there will be already schemes like your Manrega will be there. You will have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan will be there. So funds will be coming for these. Now,
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. How would you utilize your R&D knowledge?
Yeah. So
in these developmental aspects.
Now, sir, if as I mentioned, that solar is there, now biogas is there, now other is there. If through research and development aptitude, if I have that aptitude that I can think that interconvergence of these energies can be done at a very local base, then using that thing, we can even create that rural economy, like energy independent. It won't be needing any energy from the outside world. If we can just with these government schemes, local resources, and already available funds are already available. Manrega fund is there, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is there, biocompost scheme is there, PM Kusum scheme is there. It's just you need that innovative brain to create the interconvergence of all and create a sustainable economy.
But I don't think that requires R&D capabilities. That can be done. Any person who is very much aware of the latest technologies, is a layman knowledge, and he or she knows about the what are the technologies that can be utilized for the developmental purposes.
Yes, so that can be done, but yeah, I mean, we don't see such projects, so I thought about that. Otherwise, yeah, it could be even layman can also think of that and do it.
Then what is the utility of your R&D capabilities in the societal, meeting those societal and developmental needs?
So it's about R&D. I think it's scientific temperament. I mean, R&D skills which I gained is not just about the projects or the knowledge I've gained. It's just a mindset with which I can think that will help me in the civil services. It's not like I will be leaving my R&D and everything, those skill set, and going to civil services.
Okay,
So
okay,
that
it's okay. Thank you, Pranjal, but a bit exaggerated one. But why is it not there in the UPSC syllabus?
sorry, what?
why R&D subject or anything related to research and development is not there in the UPSC syllabus if it was that much required for a civil servant?
Sir, in a way, I mean, it's. I mean, there are subjects and there are questions also, analytical questions which need some certain time scientific thinking. But you're right that R&D is not particularly managed. So I am just trying to fit in my thing. I'm just saying that I'm not doing injustice to while leaving R&D and coming to civil service. So it's not like I'm saying bureaucracy is for R&D itself. But I'm saying that with that research bent also, I can contribute potentially better in this field. I mean, leaving R&D is something I'm not. I mean, I'm not missing a lot thing in civil services also.
Okay, enough of R&D, Pranjal.
Yes,
Thank you for responding for that. Now I would come to a very famous case that is from your district, that is Unnao.
yes, sir.
The last 5 years, can you recall what was that famous case?
Yes, sir. I think there was a rape case where a local politician was involved that got very highlighted in the news.
And why was it so? Why this news was very much in news?
Because I think the local politician was someone who was in power, government, and the local, I mean, the administration was. The report says that administration was kind of working under the influence of the local politicians, and because of that, victims' families has to suffer a huge loss, and media and other opposition have highlighted it to a very great extent. And this where matter even went to the CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, where the decision was taken in favor of the victim.
Was there any lapses from the part of police as an investigation agency?
Yes, sir. There were. I mean, the reports highlighted lapses because the victim personnel, she lost few of her family members. Even the lawyers were addressed. So on a security part, police had some lapses, and administration also in the district administration as well as the medical administration, they also had certain lapses because the medical reports which were submitted were kind of forged and they were not authentic. It's what the data shows. The investigation report shows that there were lapses.
Okay. Was there any custodial death in that particular case?
I think one of the family members of the victim who was a male suffered through some custodial violence. He went through some custodial violence, and there were pressure on the family member also about. I mean,
Okay. Is there any international convention which tries to address the custodial torture or custodial deaths?
Yes, sir. There is international I mean, civil rights. There is certain conventions are there for this police torture which is happening in the custody.
No, it's a UN Convention Against Torture. And has India signed this convention?
I think, sir, here I have read about it, but I am not very sure. I would not like to answer, but I think I will take, if you allow me, I will take a guess. I think India has not signed it.
Okay. No problem, Pranjal. So what do you think that if we particularly talk about the UP police, right? Or let's say in general, the Indian police system, what are the major problems that Indian policing is facing right now?
Sir, I guess the personal to the population ratio is not quite good at UP. And second thing, even the capital investment or the resources which are being provided to the police personnel are not up to the mark because we have certain incidents where we have seen that they lacked even the basic amenities to counter those violence acts. And third, I think even there is kind of distress also among the police and the public in general. So it's kind of, there's a nexus kind of thing where police has shown, their attitude towards the public has not been up to the mark, and the people kind of have a fearing mindset from the police, which I have felt and I have realized. So that kind of distress is also something which is a problematic currently in UP.
Okay, and what the government is doing to address these issues?
Sir, government has increased, they are coming with the reforms. First of all, the recent reforms which UP government has taken, they have reduced the response time. They are also working on the female aspects. I mean, they are bringing in female constables. They are increasing the ratios of police personnel, and they are also coming in with a commissionariat system at few places where the law issues is being separated from the ministerial part. So reforms are being done, and I think they are giving some positive results.
Okay, and regarding police only, there is a report. I don't remember the exact name of the institute which released this report, but it is highlighted that in India, the human right violation cases by the police are continuously rising since last 2 years.
Hmm.
Especially the report mentions UP.
Okay, sir.
Why is it so?
So as I said that, yeah, still that mindset is there, I guess. Colonial mindset is there, where the people who are in police personnel services, they kind of, they're not very well aware of the rights which are there with the public, and they have certain kind of authoritative mindset, which is being highlighted. So that distrust is there, and that is one of the reasons why human rights violation is there. And definitely there are no effective mechanisms to check it. There is no, there should be CCTV surveillance should be there, even in the lockup should be there. So there are certain infrastructure issues also which are missing. So I think these are few factors. If we keep them in check, then the police will definitely be, one of the better position which is there now compared to it now.
Do you support the encounter killing that is
No.
happening in UP?
Yeah, sir. There are instances where it happened in counter killing, but I think it is something which should not be supported.
Why is it so? If a notorious goon or a notorious person who has been accused of a lot of crimes, many, maybe 50, 60 cases are registered against him, and he is trying to use his arms and powers against the police force, then don't you think that we should resort to such killings? Because
So,
ultimately, we are doing good to the society. We are making society free of such criminals.
yeah, so but I think there's a rule of law which should be followed, because it will create a slippery surface, and we'd never know that the another case which will happen, whether it's a victim who is a helpless, who has been like framed in a situation and the encounter has been falsified, or whether it's a true incident which happened. So one or two isolated incidents are something which happened, but it should not create a kind of generalistic thing which is happening. So law and order should be respected, because nothing in this country, I think, is above the law.
Okay, Pranjal, my last question to you. Can you explain what is this Kaivalya?
Okay, so Cavalier, sir, is a Jain word which means being enlightened. And while my UPSC preparation itself, I was going through these ancient history, and I got through like many ancient words. So I like this word, and I thought that I was also parallelly working with an initiative. After my means, I got some time, as I told that I was like I had interest in teaching. So whatever points I thought that can be utilized or which can shape the country's education system, so I thought that I will make an initiative and I use that word Cavalier. So it's a Jain word meaning enlightened.
Okay, and it's an initiative for connecting Indian scholars across the globe,
Yes, sir.
isn't
So
it?
yes, so sir, I have met lot many people across this journey. So I thought that I will connect all of them, because certain people have certain strengths, certain people need some other support. So bringing them under one umbrella entity will be, I think, very good position. And so I also use my UPSC knowledge to tell them that what currently the country lacks. So it's just an initiative where I have made a platform where 5 to 6 scholars are there. They can interact, they can have ideas, and they can share itself. And most of them are also interested in working in education sector in the country. So they also share a lot insights at what can be done in near future.
Still continuing that initiative?
Sorry.
Are you still in continuation of this initiative?
So it was like post my mains. The friends which I have made, I made an initiative. I am right now not in touch with them, because after this I started my preparation again for interview and all. So that thing is there, the website is there, but it's like after all these things are done, then I may still go back to it. But it's just a self initiative without, just an interest sort of area. People are there and they just share insights and all. Nothing has been there on the, as a professional kind of. It's just
Okay, Pranjal,
interaction.
my kind of it's a quick question which you have to answer very quickly. What
Yes.
would be your priority area if you are selected as an IAS officer?
So my priority area will be to working towards the sustainable, towards the ground level development projects, which will include the bottommost section of the society, as well as creating an opportunity for them to even tap the foreign resources or global resources. Providing them an opportunity that they can even be well acquainted with the all kind of facilities which they can be provided, be it government,
Foreign
be it
resources and foreign.
global opportunities. As like when I mentioned about rural sustainable
Okay.
economies, there are various opportunities using the schemes. You can connect them with the global community. As like recent initiative of connecting Madhubani painting with the European Union, you're creating market, and you are through Amazon, the Madhubani painting is addressing the European demand. So I think if that interconnection is there, it can definitely boost the rural economy. So initiatives like those is something which I'm planning, so that a holistic development can be there.
Okay, Pranjal, that was it from my side. Thank you for responding to my queries. So over to Sankat Mochan sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Umesh sir. Good evening, Pranjal.
Good evening, sir.
What does your name mean, Pranjal?
Sir, actually, it's a Hindi name which is like Pranjal. So it's Pranjal, and that symbolizes the ocean, Samudra. So the person who contains everything in it is kind of having an associate meaning with Pranjal, and Pranjal, from Pranjal it comes Pranjal.
Okay, so a person who is very resourceful and contains everything.
Yes, sir, kind of.
An all-encompassing personality. Can I say that?
I mean, yes, sir, we can say that.
Okay, so beyond science, what does Pranjal contain? I mean, the Pranjal, the person I'm speaking to.
I think so. Beyond science, the empathy towards the nation, the empathy towards the people, and the compassion towards working for the country or for the global community is something which I have in myself.
Okay. So did you learn this empathy from science or from the, how did you garner this quality of empathy?
Empathy, yeah. So I mean, empathy would not be a very correct, but social utility you can say. So that thing I was there from my the place where I am from. So my mom is already in the state administrative services. She's an administrative officer in the state government. So she has always motivated me to work towards the, I mean, the ground level part. To, I mean, wherever you go, you should have those, I mean, a kind of motivation towards working for the community rather than your individual self. And even at IISc also, I think the mentoring was in such a way that you have to, I mean, even your projects also should be such which creates a social impact. And I think the real motivation came from the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, because in India, the academic is too much.
I'm sorry, I'll interrupt, Pranjal. You said that it is more about social utility and not empathy, isn't it?
Yes, yes, sir.
So I mean, yeah, what will Pranjal have to deliver to a desperate, hungry family living in rural India? A meal? I mean, I don't think that will have any social utility.
I mean, sir, if you talk about social utility, is someone which is taken in a long-term kind of thing. So if I am there working as a district administrator, then definitely.
So, I mean, are you not contradicting yourself, Pranjal, when you say, I mean, you initially said that you are a man of empathy, but your empathy is surpassed by social utility. Am I right?
Sir, I am going to say I don't want to compare this word because they both are kind of part of me. It's just I wanted to say social utility makes more sense in saying it, because empathy is something which is, I think, should be common to every individual. It should not be like civil servants will only be empathetic. It's just like empathy can't be certainly, I can say it's particular to me. Empathy, I think, is a very general.
Is empathy omnipresent in all sentient beings?
Sir, ideally it should be, but definitely I don't think it's there. But every person should have that.
Ideally, it should be present in everyone. But do you not think that a civil servant should have a greater degree of empathy in him than a commoner?
I don't know, sir, how to compare the greater degree of empathy and lower degree of empathy. I think, I mean, every citizen, irrespective of being a civil servant or a commoner, he should be empathetic towards the demands of others. And because we live in a social society, so we have social.
I am not talking in terms of normative, no, not in normative sense. I am not talking in terms of what things should be like. Okay. All right. I am talking in terms of empathy as a necessity or a necessary quality in a civil servant. Yeah. And I would rather use the term sine qua non, as a sine qua non of the emotional makeup of a civil servant.
Yes, sir.
Have I made myself clear?
Yes, sir. I mean,
can you now respond, Pranjal?
Yes, sir. I think you are correct. A civil servant should be more empathetic because he has been given the responsibility by the government to work for the public. So in that sense, a commoner may not be that much interested in the responsibility.
So does Pranjal have empathy in him?
Yes, sir.
Is Pranjal's empathy overshadowed by Pranjal's tendency for social utility?
Sir, I don't differentiate between these two words I mean, of course, for me, being empathetic will always motivate you towards the project which have the social utility in itself.
What
If
do
you're
you know about utilitarianism, Pranjal?
Sir, for it is like for greatest good if you're doing something. I mean, you do something which is beneficial for greatest number.
How can a meal for a hungry family of 5 people serve the greater good?
It will set the precedent that if I mean, as if you're just giving a meal to a 5%, but then eventually if certainly something happens tomorrow, there will
So
be.
my point is, Pranjal, will you not give that meal to a hungry family of 5 people? Will you or will you not give that meal? Because it will
Sir,
have no immediate social utility.
yes, sir, I will give. If there is that's within my power, I'll definitely give it.
Pranjal, you spent 1 year in London.
Yes, sir.
So what did you learn about civil services in London? Is there any idea that you would want to replicate here in India?
Sir, in London, I learned a lot about that the Londoners have a very good art of preserving their culture. If you see the London city as of the planning which is being done, they have saved the tradition which was there like around 300, 400 years before. In India, we are like do the urban geography or something which we are transforming in a way. We are kind of not valuing our tradition, but the way the beside being the most modern society, they have preserved the culture is something which I think civil servants should learn from the Londoners.
Should learn.
Yeah.
Any concrete project that you would want to implement here in India, something that is happening in London, and that concrete project that you would want to implement once you become a district magistrate, a district collector?
Yes, sir. I mean, I can tell one thing. The research which is happening, can I tell in that domain about what is happening in London?
Go ahead.
So, sir, the industry is there. I mean, the industries are working in London and the academy is there. They are quite interlinked. So, the projects which are being done, they are addressing the demands of the people. It is being executed by the industry. So, the replication period, it's very limited. I mean, in very short time, you see effectively the projects being implemented on the ground level. In India, I think most of the academic community is focusing on the research paper part. They publish it, they get the citations, but the effective implementation on the ground is not there. Even the researchers who are coming with planning also, that also takes a lot of time in implementation. So I think the implementation time, the project time, the aptitude of addressing the immediate problems is a lot better in London compared to the India.
Pranjal, I expected a more concrete answer. For instance, you would want to recycle wine bottles lying strewn on the streets, or something like that, something more concrete. You are only highlighting what is wrong with the R&D ecosystem of our country. Anyway, let's not waste it.
Yes, sir. I can give you one example like quickly. So there one project was there.
That's all right, Pranjal. Okay. Thank you a lot. Could you tell me something about tell me 2 qualities that are very essential in a diplomat? You have listed Indian Foreign Service as your second priority. So 2 qualities that is very important, are very important in a diplomat.
So one thing definitely is good communication skill and able to persuade the other person to whatever you require. And the second thing is good analytical and understanding power. So he should have a visionary approach. He should be very through with whatever thing he is speaking, what implications will it have on the country itself. And as I said, the interpersonal skills. These 2 are qualities which I think a diplomat should have.
Okay, what do you know about the word Commonwealth?
The Commonwealth is a group of countries which were once a dominion of the UK government. So British were the ruling these countries. So after decolonization, so they kind of group these countries in a group which is known as Commonwealth. And this group
what is the difference between Commonwealth and Commonwealth of Independent States?
So I think Commonwealth of Independent State is a Central Asian bloc, which they have the countries which have been, I mean, they came out of the Soviet Union post 1991, so they formed up. So that is Commonwealth of Independent States, and Commonwealth is.
Okay. Thank you, Pranjal. One last question, in fact, is related to your answer to Umesh Gupta, sir, wherein you attributed a colonial mindset to human rights violations by the police system in Uttar Pradesh.
Yes.
What do you understand by the term colonial mindset? That is question number one. The second part of the question is 75 years of independence. Do you think India still has a colonial mindset despite there being overwhelming evidence, or shall I say posturing at the international level as a preeminent power, at least in Asia? India has announced its arrival as a preeminent power in world politics. Do you think India still is bogged by a colonial mindset?
Okay, so the first thing, the colonial mindset means when we were a part of the colony, so the people who were in administration, they were kind of having a attitude that they are ruling on us. They have the authority to rule, and they don't have that democratic or that authority from the popular sovereignty. So one thing was there. So right now, also the colonial, I mean, right now the people who are in power, they are our own citizens, they are all the own people. So ideally, it should be that the government should be pro people, but that I mean the transition of that mindset, I think the people who are there in administration has not happened to 100% extent from colonial mindset.
What
And
do
so,
you understand by post-colonial?
so post-colonial means after the colony, when we got independence, so we are a sovereign nation. So I think the way we are taking decision, it should be peculiar to the Indian characteristics, or it should be Indian. So we should have that post-colonial mindset.
Is post-colonial an act of rebellion?
No, sir.
Are you sure?
I mean, post-colonial in Indian context is not an act of rebellion, I guess. But
is it not an act of the assertion of the unique Indian self?
So you mean the Zingoism or ultranationalism?
No, not at all. I mean post-colonial as an ethos.
Okay, so sir, I might not be very well with, these post-colonial statement arguments. What I personally
Are you
feel
familiar with the works of Homi Bhabha?
Somewhat, yes, sir.
No, not Homi Bhabha, the scientist.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Homi Bhabha, the scientist.
Yeah, the one who created a nuclear program for the country.
No, not him. I'm talking about Homi Bhabha, the philosopher.
Sorry, sir. I'm aware of it.
Okay. From my estimation, Pranjal, you know very little about colonialism and post-colonialism, and you just in an offhanded manner attributed a colonial mindset to human rights violations by the police system in UP.
So it could be. I mean, because I am just not going in the deep meaning of that. I'm just trying to see the superficial meaning of colonial and post-colonial. So yeah, it's possible that I am not able to get into that much depth of the words.
Very well. I am done with my questioning, Pranjal. It was wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Pranjal.
Hello, sir.
So, please enlighten us as to why did you take geography as your optional subject?
Okay, sir. So the subject I took in my coursework, it was mostly inclined towards the nanotechnology and semiconductor. So those subjects were not available as an optional subject. So like my seniors informed me that there are good options like anthropology, sociology. But my interest when I went with the syllabus, I think as an administrator, geography made a lot more sense. Because if you see the paper 2 of the geography, it's all about the resources of the country, the industries, the trade and communication, the urban geography, the planning part. So I thought that in administrator role, that subject will help me a lot. So that's why I took it.
So you are more interested towards human geography.
Sorry, human geography.
you are more interested, you are more attracted towards the human geography portion, right?
I mean, sir, both the parts it's interesting. It's just because geography gives you a lot domain to actually design development projects at a ground level. Like suppose there is development projects happening, so regional development planning and all, geography helps in that.
So Pranjal, recently there was a research by an Indian researcher. There was a study by an Indian researcher related to Greater Maldives Ridge. Are you aware about? Yes.
Greater Maldives Ridge. No, sir, I haven't heard of this. Sorry. If is it linked to some coral reefs or something like that?
It's okay. Let's move on.
Okay.
Do you know anything about atmospheric radiative forcing or atmospheric radiative effect?
Yes, sir. So the the emissions, the aerosols and all, when these goes in the atmosphere itself, so they can create a positive or negative feedback depending upon their scattering the light or they're absorbing the sun spectra. So they can play with the climate part of the system, atmospheric system. So they create kind of atmospheric radiative forcing.
Can you explain, or can you just in a brief, the effect of aerosols and water vapors in the higher altitudes of the Greater Himalayas?
So, sir, aerosols are good at scattering the light. So that incoming solar light which is coming, aerosols may transmit back most of the light. So in that way, in that terms, insolation light of reduced in the Greater Himalayas. So they can have effect on the plantation, the flora and fauna of that, even like the radiations and all. And as you mentioned, water vapor has the emission spectrum which tends to absorb the long-term wavelength. I mean, the one which is reflected from the surface back to the atmosphere. So they kind of work as a greenhouse gas. So they kind of increase the temperature. Now, as you mentioned, for Greater Himalayas, I think it can help in melting of ice.
Actually, Pranjal, which will have a higher atmospheric radiative forcing, the aerosols or the water vapors, with respect to Greater Himalayas?
So it's hard to say which one will have a higher radio. I mean,
okay, let's move on.
Yeah, it needs calculation. I guess.
Okay, there were studies related to this in the February. The studies were out in February 2022 only.
Okay, sir.
Are you aware about you were related to this material science?
Yes.
You have been related to material science branch, and you have been studying carbon nanotubes.
Yes, sir.
So you must be aware with the technologies, the current affairs that is related to the material science.
Yes,
have
sir,
you any idea about India Innovation Graphene Center?
India Innovation Graphene Center.
Innovation Graphene Center. Have you heard about it?
No, sir, I haven't heard of this.
It's proposed to be established in one of the cities. Have you gone through this?
No, sir. I mean, I didn't. I know about the graphene and all, but and center establishing for graphene, I have not much idea about it.
Earlier, you talked about the problems with police forces.
Yes, sir.
And one of the main issues with that Unnao case,
yes, sir,
in my opinion, was politicization of police force, the political interference in the police force.
Yes, sir, that's it.
Can you give very quickly 2 bullet points as to what can be the solution to reduce the politicization of police force?
Okay. So one thing definitely will be there, that to check the nexus, there should be effective agencies, implementing implementing agencies to check them. So when you have investigation set up, so that should be done in a very non-partisan way, first thing. And second thing, sir, I would say that the cases which are there, of these nexus happening with the courts and all, they somehow get delayed. That judicial, I would say, the output or the judicial delay is there in those cases which are not being addressed. So it keeps lagging and all. So there is no deterrence mechanism still there. That can be one of the things which can be used to check it.
Okay, let's turn towards material science. We are talking that crude oil and natural gas, these are unsustainable to rely on for our energy needs. So we are going towards renewable energy.
Yes,
but for renewable energy, solar, wind, etc., we have increased our mining. We are manufacturing more materials. We are not only manufacturing more materials, but we are dumping more materials.
Yes, sir.
So we are generating more waste. So is that sustainable?
Sir, we have to do the SWOT analysis. I mean, as you said rightly, that these blades and all of windmills, they're made of aluminium, and also it needs extraction, and that is also an energy intensive process. So if you are generating renewable energy, it's actually not renewable. So, but then we have to check whether that entire process is feasible or not. If we are getting net positive, net surplus, then I think we should go with it. If we are not getting net positive, then it doesn't make sense to continue with that renewable project.
Can you give a concrete solution to this issue that I raised with respect to renewable energy?
Yes, sir. But okay. So as you said, that mining was an issue in our case. So we should not just rely on those which needs mining. There are other renewable sources also, like as I said, geothermal is there, biofuel is there, biocompost is there. So these are also renewable energy. Can be worked on in place of the one which needs mining.
Are you aware of the term circular economy?
Yes.
Can you explain it briefly?
Yes. So a product which comes in the market or which like human uses, eventually it turns up into the waste. And if that recycling is not there, then it is like a linear economy. But if you can bring it through recycling back to the market and back to the use, that is like a circular economy.
That can be the solution to the more mining portion.
Okay. Yes, that can be.
So electrical vehicles. We are talking about electrical vehicles, and we'll look into the material science portion of it. Okay. So we are again crude oil unsustainable, diesels unsustainable. So we are looking towards electrical vehicle. Yes, but will it reduce import dependency for India?
Electric vehicles won't reduce import for the country.
How?
Because, sir, the technology, first of all, even the material which we need for electronic vehicles, geological reserve of India are not in sync with those materials. I mean, we don't have the technology to extract those materials efficiently. Second thing, the technology to fabricate these.
Examples, please, Pranjal.
Sir, for, as you said, electrical EV vehicles, so lithium we need. And there are other materials also which we need. Alkali metals are there. And then I think other ceramic material also we need, be it titanium, be it scandium, all these kind of materials we need. And our geological production, which we have in the country, are not in sync with the production of EV vehicle. Second thing, the technology that we need, like Tesla is there and other things are there, which are working in abroad, that technology also we lack. So having this thing that it will reduce import dependency, that is not going to happen for sure. But with time, if we work on it, definitely in 20-30 years, we can have those.
Your opinion on banning hijab in schools and other educational institutions?
Yes, sir. So recently, Karnataka High Court has come up.
Your opinion, Pranjal?
Yes, sir. So I would like to say that I will be supporting that argument, the argument which Karnataka High Court gave, because we have to see that school education is an institution in itself. It has its own right. And there is a judicial doctrine, essential religious practice. So first thing is that the institution college itself has its own, so that should be respected. Second thing is hijab. So Karnataka High Court has said that hijab doesn't form the essential practice of the Shariat law, as per the research which they have carried out, as per their judicial opinion. So I guess then it's as we are a secular country, so we should keep in mind, and then it doesn't make. I mean, whatever High Court said, it makes sense. Yeah.
Pranjal, you just talked about social utility.
Yes, sir.
Few minutes ago. Yes. And we can see that here the social utility, the principle of social utility will say that if you ban hijabs, the girl education might, in Islam, the Muslim girl education might reduce.
Yes, sir.
And the social utility won't allow that. The principle of social utility won't allow. So are you going against that principle?
No, sir. Actually, social utility, I think we are viewing right now in a very narrow way. Because if we start allowing it, suppose in that way, then there can be chances. Then other religions may also revolt of allowing some dear tradition. Like there were instances when the people have wore saffron cloths and went. So it kind of creates disruption in the society. First thing. Second thing, particular to the case which you mentioned, that the girl might lose education. So we should also be aware that there are certain education which are carried out by these minority institutions. Article 28 and Article 27 permit those institutions, so that girls' education will not be compromised in case if they are so much into the religion and faith that the public institutions are, they feel that public institutions are not respecting this idol, then definitely they have different education where they can continue with the education.
Okay. Over to Ashish, sir, please. Thank you.
Pranjal, am I audible?
Hello, sorry. Yeah, yes.
Pranjal, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So my first question would be on your academic background. Generally, we see that material science has made a lot of progress when it comes to solid materials.
Yes.
But why is it that material science rarely talks about the liquid material or the gas material?
So I think one of the main reason is because of the processing issues. Solid materials are very easy to process. Liquid materials needs quite and they are energy intensive also. They are difficult to control also, and you need a lot of regulatory mechanism also to work on those materials. There will be leakages, so there will be leakages, and also you need setup that leakages doesn't happen. There will be vaporization, and also that thing has to be considered. With solid, we don't have those issues.
Okay, I see that you have an interest in teaching. Suppose you are posted as a special project director of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan in a state where the state has a very low population density, say some of the northeastern states or states like Goa, etc., Uttarakhand, the hilly states, where it is not feasible to open schools in different nooks and corners of the state. So suppose if you come out with a high school at an approachable distance, you'll hardly have some 10, 15 students in every class. But then today we are in the era of right-based, government services. So how will you solve this problem that on one hand, it is imperative for the government to reach out to the, the school kids, to the kids in that age category, but at the same time, it is not feasible for the government to reach out in every nook and corner of the country.
So we can have the hybrid solution for this. We can have physical infrastructure as well as digital infrastructure in place. So as much as possible, physical infrastructure can be made. And if that we don't having resources or there are problems, then we can complement the digital resources. We have we can use those things also to come up with the holistic education plan.
Okay, so digital infrastructure is one thing that has been accepted and appreciated of late. But if I want to really cater to the students with a more tangible and what you said as physical infrastructure, what other physical infrastructure can you think that will make schools accessible to the students?
So physical infrastructure, as in you definitely need an environment where a student can come and study. And more to that, we also need human resource. So if suppose we don't have those resources ready, like if we don't have teacher supply or we don't have the exact government teachers, so then if we work with the civil society or with a very gram panchayats level, we can motivate the local people there who are pretty educated, or they have that much potential that they can teach the students who are of primary level or till class 8. Then we can motivate them also to provide that tangible education which you're talking about. That motivation can be there, and we can have that kind of mechanism.
Are you keeping in touch with the latest developments in Indian economy?
Yes, sir. To an extent, yes.
Okay, so you see that there was actually a rapid rise in the non-performing assets, and there was talk of recapitalization of public sector banks. Recently, there was an RBI paper on the recapitalization of public sector banks as well. So what is your opinion on recapitalization of public sector banks by government, that is by using the taxpayers' money?
Sir, I think that's a positive move, but we should segregate the banking system of the country in two domains. One is sector which government says the systematically important banks, and other will be non-systematically important banks. So definitely the recapitalization should work on the this one, which are systematically important for the economics or the Indian's economy, and we should try not to push a lot on the non-strategic one or which are not performing well. So we can do the merger and all. While on the other hand, recapitalization is also what we need, because anyway monetary system and the financial system also has to be stable for the country. So I think that's a positive move, and the disinvestment and which government has planned for the other bank is also a positive move. So that will complement and have a good economic banking system in the country.
Okay. What you mentioned the term systematically important bank. What is the fundamental idea of categorizing a bank as a systematically important bank?
So I think if the whole net worth, which is certain percentage of GDP, I think it's around 2% or something, then it will be termed as systematically important banks. It's a certain percentage of GDP which if their net worth is around that region, then they will be termed as a systematically important bank. That can create if they get disrupted, then it will create a huge impact on the country's financial health.
Okay. Do the banks have to do something if they are categorized as domestically systematically important bank?
Yes, sir. So the regulatory mechanisms RBI has that gets strengthened, and there are Basel norms and capital adequacy ratios, tier 1 and tier 2 capital. So all those parameters are there. So they have to be in conformity with those amounts which have been there allocated to those.
Do you know the specific parameters?
Sir, one is there is capital, this one capital adequacy ratio, which I said, and then there is definitely
What is the capital adequacy ratio that they have to maintain?
exact figures. Sir?
Yes.
Is it around 8% to 9%? I'm not very sure, but there it's a. I think yeah. So 8 to 9% is the I think Basel norms have highlighted that, and they have to maintain around 12% or something like that. 8 to 9 is the minimum percentage, and 12% is I think which RBI has given.
And how many domestic systematically important banks are there in the country?
Sir, I guess 4 are there.
Can you name them?
Sir, ICICI is there, HDFC is there, SBI is there, and I guess PNB is there.
And does any bank from India qualify to be called as international systematically important bank or globally important?
Globally, sir, SBI is there in top 100, I guess, but it's not globally systematically important, I guess.
Okay, fine. You see that of late there has been many multinational or international financial banks being launched by the Asian countries. What has been the driving force behind Asian countries launching these international banks?
So because these Asian countries, like these are mostly the initiatives coming from China and Russia itself. So they think that the Western biasness is there in terms of the loan, in terms of the credit ratings which are being provided to the banks of China. So they are taking their own initiative of creating a group in the Asia Pacific region. So they have come up with the Asian Development Bank, and then we have also like BRICS is coming up with a new development bank. So that Western dependency is reduced, and they can themselves have their own sovereign power in terms of the financial health or banking.
Okay. My last question, I see that you have done your master's from London.
Yes.
Generally, you hear across 3 terms commonly for England, which is United Kingdom, Great Britain, and England.
Yes.
So are they 3 the same terms, or are they 3 different terms?
No, sir, they are different things. England is the island, the biggest island. And I think when you include the Scotland and Ireland, then it becomes the Greater Britain. So it's like the territories which are being incorporated in these. So England is what we see, London one. Then we have Scotland also above it. Then we have Ireland also. So when everything, all these combines, then it's Greater Britain. And when it's just England and this one, Scotland, then it's United Kingdom, something like that. So I'm not very sure about it, but it's the islands which are grouped in a way. So that grouping tells you whether it will be called England or Greater Britain or this one. United
Okay.
Kingdom.
If as a citizen of India, if you have to ask for one thing back from the Queen of England, what will be that thing?
That is very. So can I take 2-3 seconds to answer this?
Yes, please.
Sir, actually, I think if she can give us the capital which they have taken, but I think it's something which we should not ask for because we actually don't have how much they have to pay from us. Sir, I will think about it. It's a very, I think, deep question. I'm not getting an answer right now. But prima facie, if someone asks me, I will say the capital or Kohinoor. We can ask for like them that thing, but this definitely needs a deep thinking.
Okay, fine, Pranjal. Thank you. That will be it from my side, sir.
Thank you, Ashish sir, and thank you all the panelists. So Pranjal, now interview is over, discussion is over. So we will be giving our inputs to you one by one. Okay. So you can be relaxed. Okay. So do you want to take a glass of water?
No, it's fine.
If you want, you can please.
It's fine actually.
Okay. So Pranjal, when is your interview scheduled?
May 17th.
May 17th. And this is your first attempt, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before this, did you take any mocks anywhere? Did you?
Sir, I took one mock, but yeah, that was also like 1 day before. So I didn't take. I mean, it was just like right now. Also, I'm not very prepared because I lost some touch with the current affairs and all. So right now I'm doing it, but then this was my second mock.
Okay. So Pranjal, today's performance, how do you see yourself? Like, how, according to you, like, what is your performance today?
Sir, I think the good part of this interview was that the questions were quite, they were asking in quite depth. The initial which one
No,
I gave.
my question is, what is your performance? Like, how do you see that? How you have performed according to your expectation?
Okay. So I would say above average, but not to the topmost.
Okay. So, did you go through some scripts of previous toppers?
I have, sir, but not many. I will just go into one or two.
Okay. So Pranjal, so let this discussion be like, very honest or discussion, candid discussion. Okay. So हम आपको कुछ फीडबैक देना चाहेंगे, ठीक है, और मे बी हम लोग थोड़ा क्रिटिक्स होंगे. Okay. So you have to take it in a positive way. Okay.
Yes, sir.
See, what I have observed personally, maybe it can differ person to person, okay, panelist to panelist, okay, but everybody will be giving their own. Okay. See, आपका जो डेफ है, okay, वो बहुत ही हैवी है, हैवी इन द सेंस कि पॉजिटिव वे में है. बहुत आपके डेफ को देखने के बाद बहुत सारे एक्सपेक्टेशंस हो जाते हैं जो इंटरव्यूअर होते हैं. जो क्वेश्चंस होते हैं वो उनके दिमाग में आने लगते हैं. ओके. तो इसमें मतलब आप ऐसा मान लीजिए कि आपका इंटरव्यू काफी इंटरेस्टिंग होगा. जो क्वेश्चंस होंगे वो काफी इंटरेस्टिंग होंगे. ओके. यू हैव ब्रिलियंट एकेडमिक परफॉर्मेंस. आपका एकेडमी बहुत बढ़िया है. ओके. एक दो चीजें मैं पॉइंट आउट करना चाहूंगा, ठीक है, कि एज ए कैंडिडेट मैं आपको देख पा रहा हूँ कि आपके पास नॉलेज है. ओके. बट आप उसका यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं कर रहे प्रांजल. ओके. कहाँ पे छोटी छोटी मिस्टेक हो रही है जो मैंने हाईलाइट किया है कि आप जब क्वेश्चंस को सुनते हो तो फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम यहीं से स्टार्ट होता है कि यू डू नॉट लिसन क्वेश्चंस प्रॉपरली. ओके. Many a times what happened, like panelist was going through the giving the questions and you started speaking. It should never happen. Okay. It is against the personality test. Okay.
So should I interrupt one thing?
Yes.
Sir, most often in online it happens that when the person speak, then he takes a break, but I feel that he has like
no, not at all, Pranjal. ठीक है.
Okay, sir.
आप बीच में बोलते हो. क्वेश्चंस जब लोग बोलते हैं ना तो हमें पता चलता है क्वेश्चन कंप्लीट हुआ क्या नहीं. इसके पीछे की कोई भी लॉजिक गलत है. ठीक है. तो आई एम जस्ट सजेस्टिंग. ठीक है. दैट इज वन थिंग. इसका प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है कि आप स्टार्ट कर देते हो इमीडिएट स्पीकिंग. ओके. और इसमें क्या हो रहा है कि जो आपका जो बेस्ट नॉलेज है ना वो सामने नहीं आ रहा है. The moment you listen the question, you start speaking immediately. That is the second problem. Okay. मतलब पहले क्वेश्चन को प्रॉपर सुनिए. ओके. उसके बाद जो है ना मतलब आप इस स्पीड में बोलिए ताकि सामने वाला भी उसको समझ रहा है. There are a lot of times when some of your points getting skipped. A panelist even cannot track what you said. Okay. It should not happen at all. Okay. नेक्स्ट इज व्हाट कि आप गेसिंग बहुत करते हो. ठीक है. मतलब लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स यू आस्क दैट कैन आई गेस. ओके. सी दिस इज नॉट लाइक रिकमेंडेड एट ऑल. ओके. गेसिंग का मतलब होता है कि एक लॉजिकल गेस. ओके. जहाँ पे संभावना होती है कि आप गेस कर रहे हो बट स्टिल आप करेक्ट करने वाले हो. ओके. ओके. कहीं येस और नो का क्वेश्चन है वहां पे गेसिंग नहीं होती. उसमें तो एक करेक्ट होना ही है. ओके. और आपकी गेसिंग गलत भी हो रहे हैं. ओके. अदर पैनलिस्ट विल लेट यू नो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स व्हेन यू गेस्ड रॉन्ग. ओके. नेक्स्ट इज व्हाट आई आस्क्ड अ ब्यूटीफुल क्वेश्चन टू यू. यूज ऑफ साइंस इन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. ओके. और साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी. ओके. तो आपके जो आंसर्स होते हैं ना तो वो कॉन्क्रीट नहीं होते हैं. आई वुड से कि वो राउंड एंड राउंड होते हैं. मतलब टू द पॉइंट नहीं हो रहे हैं. जैसे अगर साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी तो आप उस टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करो और उससे रिलेटेड कोई प्रॉब्लम है या एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव हेल्प है वो उसको कैसे सॉर्ट आउट करता है आप उसके बारे में बात करो. ओके.
सर लाइक ब्लॉकचेन बता सकते थे इसमें. ब्लॉकचेन जो आ रही है इन करेंसीज में. तो
Of
चल
course,
सकता है।
मतलब बहुत सारी चीजें बता सकते हैं, ठीक है। जैसे मान के चलिए कि कहीं पे आपको अटेंडेंस करना है, आपने बायोमेट्रिक लगा दिया, स्कूल का अटेंडेंस है, बायोमेट्रिक लगा दिया, मतलब छोटे छोटे ग्राउंड लेवल की चीजें चाहिए। ओके, आपका एक जो पॉइंट था जो शायद से आपको फाइनल इंटरव्यू में पूछा जाएगा कि आप रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट के बाद आप सिविल सर्विसेज में क्यों जाना चाहते हैं। ओके, बिकॉज आप समझिए इस चीज को कि इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ साइंस जो बेंगलोर में है, वहाँ पे बहुत कम लोगों को चांसेस मिलता है स्टडी करने का। ओके, आप वहाँ से ग्रेजुएटेड होकर, ओके, आप रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट में काम करके, ओके, आप अपना फील्ड चेंज करना चाहते हो, तो यहाँ पे एक बहुत ही सॉलिड रीजन चाहिए। ओके, सॉलिड रीजन इन द सेंस कि जब हमने आपसे पूछा कि आप क्यों करना चाहते हैं, तो आपका जो कंक्लूजन निकल के आ रहा था, इवन दिस क्वेश्चन वाज रिपीटेड बाय मेनी ऑफ द पैनलिस्ट्स, क्योंकि आपके आंसर्स जो है ना क्वेश्चंस क्रिएट कर रहे थे। आपके जो आंसर का कंक्लूजन था वो ये था कि आई एम नॉट सेटिस्फाइड विद द रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट परफॉर्मेंस और लाइक इसका यूज नहीं है इंडिया में। इससे ये मीनिंग आ रहा था, जो कि एब्सोल्युटली कभी नहीं होना चाहिए आपके किसी भी वर्ड में। ओके, प्रैक्टिकल में क्या हो रहा है, आप किस लेवल पे समझ रहे हो सकता है कि आपको वो डीप अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है कि किस लेवल पे यूटिलाइजेशन हो रहा है, बट यू आर
सर हाँ, मैं इसमें ये बताना चाह रहा था कि जो आप क्रिएट कर रहे हो एज एन R&D, जो मैं यूटिलिटी क्रिएट कर रहा हूँ, उससे ज्यादा मैं एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ सर, ये कहने का मेरा मतलब, आई वाज ट्राइंग टू से
दिस इज योर प्रॉब्लम, दिस इज नॉट द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ द रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट टीम। आप समझ रहे, बट आपके आंसर्स जो उस समय थे, इससे ये पता चल रहा था कि हमारे R&D में फॉल्ट है। ओके, तो ये वहां से निकल के आ रहा था। देखिए, अगर आपको IAS बनना है, ठीक है, तो उसका एक सॉलिड रीजन आप ढूंढिए क्यों आप बनना चाहते हो। आपको रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट में खराबी दिखी इसलिए IAS बनना चाहते हो, दैट शुड नॉट बी एट ऑल। ओके,
सर साइड में हाँ, मैं थोड़ा गलत बोले, मैं ये बोला था कि सोशल यूटिलिटी ज्यादा मेरे को उस चीज से आएगी, इसलिए मैं सिविल सर्विसेज की तरफ जाना चाहता हूँ। R&D खराब है ये मतलब मेरा इंटेंट नहीं था, बट आई विल वर्क ऑन दैट। श्योर।
See, I'm giving you the feedback what I have, like, you know.
नहीं, yes, sure, thank you sir.
Okay,
yeah.
So see, इसको मानना नहीं मानना ये आपका है। Okay,
नहीं sir, definitely this is a very positive, I will work on that.
See, what I mean to say, दोनों का अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट्स है, ठीक है। आपको एक साइड जाना है तो दूसरे साइड की कमियों के ऊपर बात नहीं कीजिए, आप अपने इंटरेस्ट के ऊपर बात कीजिए, कि आप अपनी पर्सनालिटी के बारे में बात कीजिए कि मैं यहाँ ज़्यादा सुटेबल हूँ, मैंने ऐसा ऑब्जर्व किया है, मेरे पास ये क्वालिटी है, मेरा ये स्ट्रेंथ है कि अगर मैं एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हूँ तो और मैं अच्छा कर सकता हूँ। आपके पॉइंट्स ऐसे होने चाहिए।
जी सर।
आपका जो डिस्कशन है वो इंटरव्यू से ज़्यादा डिबेट फील होता है, आर्ग्यूमेंट फील होता है।
ओके,
ऐसा लगता है कि हम आपस में बातें नहीं कर रहे हैं। इंटरव्यू मतलब होती है आपस में बातें। ओके, इट शुड नॉट लुक लाइक दैट डिबेट चल रहा है और लाइक यू नो आर्ग्यूमेंट चल रहा है। एंड आई एम टेलिंग यू कि दिस डिबेट इज गोइंग टू बी डन इन वन साइड ओनली, इट इज गेटिंग डन इन वन साइड, यू आर डूइंग योरसेल्फ डिबेट, ऐसा फील होता है। sometimes you agree, sometimes you do not agree on the same point. Okay. There are a lot of times that happened. Okay, so ये सारे आपके मार्क्स को कम कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है कि आप इन चीजों को अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते हो। आप सोचना, आप इस वीडियो को वॉच करना, आपको पता चलेगा यू कैन अवॉइड, दीज आर सिली मिस्टेक्स, दीज आर नॉट लाइक कि आपको ये चीजें मतलब आप में क्वालिटी नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं है। ओके, और आप जब आपसे हमारे एक पैनलिस्ट ने पूछा था कि आपने जियोग्राफी क्यों लिया एज एन ऑप्शनल,
जी सर,
तो आपको जो पॉइंट बोलना है ना वो कि जियोग्राफी क्यों सूटेबल है आपके लिए विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू यूपीएससी सिविल सर्विसेज क्रैक करने के लिए। आप
ओके, नॉट एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर।
यस, आप प्रूफ कर रहे थे कि एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर जियोग्राफी कर लूंगा तो मैं अच्छा एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर बन जाऊंगा, ये आपके आंसर से पता चल रहा था। इट इज नॉट लाइक दैट, एवरी सब्जेक्ट इज सेम फॉर एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर। ओके, दैट इज व्हाई यूपीएससी, तब तो जियोग्राफी रहता है एक ही ऑप्शन। ओके, आप समझ रहे हो कि what
Yes, sir,
blunder
sir.
you are doing? Okay.
हाँ,
हम ऑप्शनल क्यों लेते हैं? ताकि हम अच्छा मार्क्स ला सके, हम उसमें अच्छे हैं। तो आप ये रीजन दीजिए कि सर माय इंटरेस्ट इज जियोग्राफी, आई एम गुड एट जियोग्राफी एंड आई कैन गेट, आई एक्सपेक्ट अ गुड मार्क्स इन जियोग्राफी एंड इट इज द पार्ट ऑफ माय स्ट्रैटेजी, दैट इज व्हाई आई हैव टेकन दिस।
okay.
आप समझ रहे हैं? दिस इज द ट्रूथ, राइट? आपने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सा था, कि सिविल सर्वेंट को एक सिविल सर्वेंट को लंदन के सिविल सर्वेंट से क्या सीखना चाहिए? ओके, तो आप जो बातें करते हो वो कल्चर और हेरिटेज की बातें करने लगे, तभी
वो
आपसे
सर, और सर मैंने ये सुना उसमें कि हमको लंदन से क्या सीखना चाहिए, लंदन सिविल सर्वेंट को लंदन से क्या सीखना चाहिए।
इसका
तो
मतलब आप क्वेश्चन ही नहीं सुनते हो। ओके,
या हाँ सर, वहां पे मेरा वो हो गया, मैंने
तो
वो
सी द क्वेश्चन वाज कि एक सिविल सर्वेंट को लंदन के सिविल सर्वेंट से क्या, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, सो दैट पैनलिस्ट विल लेट यू नो इन डीपली। ओके, तो वहां पे देखिए, एज ए सिविल सर्वेंट आपको अच्छे प्रोजेक्ट्स को इंस्टॉल करना है, सॉल्यूशन देना है। आप केवल हेरिटेज और कल्चर के बारे में सीखते हो, ये आंसर बहुत जस्टिफाई नहीं करता आपको। ओके, उसके बाद आपका आई कांटेक्ट प्रॉपर नहीं है प्रांजल, बहुत ही कैजुअल स्टाइल है आपका। ओके, मतलब आप जब बातें करते हो तो एक सीरियस टॉक नहीं लगता है, सीरियस मीन्स सेंसिटिव टॉक नहीं लगता है। आप ऐसा फील होता है कि आप इसको एकदम कैजुअली लेते हो। तो आई वुड रेकमेंड, प्लीज डू नॉट डू इट इन योर फाइनल इंटरव्यू। It should be very very sensitive talk. Okay, and without, like, listening, thinking, never say anything, avoid guessing, please. Okay, so there are a lot of things to say, but I would say, like, other panelists will give their valuable inputs to you, but finally I'm telling you, you are looking to me a promising candidate. The only thing is that please avoid these silly mistakes. Okay, because you are absolutely a very good, like, your academy is very good, your personality is like very charming. Okay, so just you have to develop your sensitiveness. Okay, that is all. Okay, so yes.
Just one thing, I think this eye contact is with the because sometimes I see the screen, sometimes I see the camera.
Eye contact does not mean that you are looking eye to eye. Eye contact means the body language. Okay, so sometimes body language is getting phrased as eye contact. Okay, so I would request to other panelists to please give their valuable inputs to Mr. Pranjal. Okay, thank you, Pranjal. Okay,
thank you sir, thanks a lot for solutions.
Yeah.
Hello Pranjal.
Yes sir.
Long feedback from Amresh sir, and he has I thank him that he has pointed out almost all the things which were very much necessary. I would be a bit harsh critic of you. See, you are a well qualified, you have excellent academic record. There is no doubt about that.
Yes sir.
You have that plethora of achievements and your interests in that column.
Yes sir.
Which will take at least 3 to 4 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to understand what you have written there.
Yes sir.
Right. Still, I would say you are not at all prepared.
Yes sir.
Actually, you have not imagined the situation कि ये आएगा तो मैं क्या बोलूंगा, ये आएगा तो मैं क्या बोलूंगा. And see, we all pass through this process of learning. I have also faced the same problem when I was appearing the first time. I think it's your first time you are going to appear for the interview, right?
Yes.
So what you need, that you are the very good personality. I think you could become one of the best suited candidate for the UPSC civil services. But what you need is polishing.
Yes.
Polishing to your thought process, polishing to your body language, polishing to the tune you are speaking with.
Okay sir.
You have to change that tone from the just passed out college guy or from a corporate person to the person who is going to become the part of government service, right? That tuning you very much require, right? First of all, I would point out some of the body language attributes. I could very much see your hands, fingers coming in front of camera while you were speaking. And if this habit persists, like you are all the time doing this and that, just hold your hand like this on your lap, right? Because it draws unnecessary attention. You are not in a presentation or seminar mode, right? And believe me, if you don't practice this deliberately now, it will happen like this only in that stress situation. See, keep one thing in mind: whatever you practice at home, you can carry at max 30 to 40% of that. That is the established fact. Because our mind is that much stressed. I'll tell you, since I have the experience of appearing 3 times in the UPSC interview, what happens, what goes through our mind. We are very much relaxed when we reach to the UPSC, right? The first time, the kind of tension or the apprehensions that pinches our mind is when you get to know which board is yours. Do we have a whole lot of perception? Dr. Manoj Soni board gives this kind of marks, this kind of thinking he has, or other UPSC esteemed members. We as a human being always have that inherent biasness. So has for them, they are also having that element of human being biasness. I don't say this biasness or tilt towards some different aspect or something which may not fine tune with each and every person. So just be sure that the moment you reach your turn of the interview, your tension and the stress level increases. So first of all, you have to identify ways to keep your mind calm. Avoid the overthinking, because many things will come. Since this is the board of this person who has served as a foreign officer, so he'll be asking, he or she will be asking these many questions. In that scenario, if you are making so much hand movement, I bet you that definitely you cannot control that in the UPSC, that particular room. This was about your hand movement. And again, your head, you are using too much of, like it seems more like you are making a presentation as a maybe a entrepreneur, maybe a manager, a marketing manager of a company, or maybe a R&D person who just wants to get that patent. Right now, I will talk to your positive aspects. These many things you need to work upon. First of all, personality traits. Right. What you told to Amresh sir as well as to me, the panelists as a human being would feel that you are overqualified for any job in India. Right. It gave me that sense. That is why I asked deliberately that you seem to be overqualified for civil services.
Yes, sir. And this question, like I was very underprepared, so whatever I had in my mind, I will prepare for like questions like these also.
So this gave me this kind of feeling that you think you are very much well capable in R&D, and because you have done that R&D academic qualification, you want to come to the civil service. This is nowhere acceptable. Please fine tune your reason. Right, you may frame it in a different way. Your intentions are correct, no doubt about that.
Yes, sir.
But the way you are putting it, you are criticizing it.
Okay, sir.
Like that is kind of suicidal to say that in India for R&D there is kind of no scope at all.
Okay, yes. I have to work on this because sir also highlighted the same thing.
Yes,
that you are kind of criticizing.
Yes, and Amresh sir has already told, listen the question carefully.
Yes, sir.
And bring some patience in yourself. Even while answering the questions, try to practice that. I would suggest a very good way to improve your communication skill for UPSC, maybe start speaking in front of mirror or record your voice, or maybe video recording of yourself. You yourself will come on to conclusion that you are making some fundamental mistakes. It is justified, it is okay, because you are not prepared yet, right? You have to be bit more polished, you have to be more articulative. Pause, even if you are speaking, if you are telling about the PM Kushum, its benefits, the way it functions, after speaking a sentence, take a pause, think, right? But don't speak anything like you have to just speak and complete the answer. No, that will not work.
Okay, sir.
Right. Second thing, the questions that I asked, again, you are not aware what you are uttering. Once you ask, once you tell that rule of law, then at the same time you say that law and order, right? Encounter killing is not at all related to the law and order. Law and order is different. Law and order is some riot is happening, some gathering is there, controlling mob, right? Law and order situation is very remotely related to the encounter killing. You told that following law and order.
Okay.
Right? Following rule of law. You could have used your knowledge, what you have read in political theories, that due process of law.
Due process.
Procedure established by law. Right? There is the procedure established by law in the criminal justice system. Though I don't expect you to use the CRPC and Indian Evidence Act. That will be taught to you later, right? So these things you need to work upon. One more thing, I was very much saddened to hear from you that you told, I asked you what would be your priority areas. You asked that you want to make the people aware about the foreign opportunities and make them use foreign resources.
So tap the global opportunities.
Yes. You use this term, foreign resources.
Okay.
If you are posted in one of the remotest corner of the country, let's say in a remote village of the Odisha or Jharkhand, in tribal belt, they don't damn care about what is going outside. Let's leave about India. They are not concerned about what is going on in the neighboring district, right? So just try to think what the socio-economic geography of India is. Geography is your optional. Whatever weapons you are having in your arsenal, use them properly. For the case of why IAS or why civil services, despite being from R&D, right? You could say that in R&D, I have learned keen observation, right? My observation and analytical abilities have grown up.
Yes, sir.
Which is a key demand of an administrator in the modern 21st century. So I found that I could make a larger impact if I joined the civil service. That way, utilize your positive attributes. Don't criticize anything.
Yes, sir.
Right? You have excellent qualification. Believe me, if you work on these attributes, definitely you are going to get very good marks.
Yes, sir.
Right? Just try to think, like whenever, just try to trace your syllabus. See, UPSC interview is not very different from main syllabus. Just try to think in terms of syllabus, where to inculcate the ethics syllabus terms like empathy, compassion. In polity, when I asked the police and any law and order situation or the political system related questions, you should use these terms, due process of law. Like if you are getting there is media justice, right? Media is self-giving the justice.
Yes, sir.
Right? Mobocracy and what? Mob lynching.
Yes, sir.
Right? In all such cases, you can use that every citizen, not only the civil servants or the people who are there in the system, but also there is a duty of every citizen of the country that they should adhere to the due process of law and rule of law. They should uphold the constitution. This is how the personality of a well-learned, well-read person comes out. Right? Please work on these aspects.
Yes.
Think, speak less, think more. Just first of all, think whatever questions were thrown to you. Every question cannot be given a feedback on that. Just think that what could have been the best answer I could give on this question. If you start thinking, you will definitely get best answer for each and every question, because you have qualified means you know each and everything, right? And one more request: whenever you are appearing for mock interview, be it the mock interview or anything, just have clean shave, because I hope you would be going clean shave there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? You will not be keeping beard like this.
No, 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 sir.
Right? You can keep your mustache, but not the beard.
Yes, sir.
See, I'll tell why I'm pushing on appearing on mocks. When we shave after a long time.
Yes, sir.
Right? We feel some sensations in our chin or the checks.
Okay.
It draws our attention.
Yes, sir.
That is why I recommend, even I had practiced before the interview at least 20-25 days, try to shave each alternative day. There are many friends of mine who have told that yaar dhyan bar bar hamara yahan jata tha, because you are not very much habitual to it. Right?
Yes, sir.
This was it from my side. Do I have taken a lot of time?
No, sir. Thanks for that.
You are a very promising candidate. Just fine tune your preparation, Pranjal.
And sir, regarding the subject matter, I mean, except those words which you mentioned, that my words should be very, I mean, exact words, right? Not law and order. It should be proper due process of law. So other than that, did you find any other lacunas in the?
What other things I have already told you almost each and everything, and Amresh sir has covered. So I have left those parts which he has covered, right? And be aware of more the things or the events that has happened where you have been residing. Like for example, Bangalore, that hijab issue was there.
Yes,
sir probably had asked that question.
Yes,
so the places where you have been acquainted with, where you have lived, just try to find, like Unnao case, right? That was so famous a case that any person could get a question out of it. Right? It's still fresh in the head of people, especially those bureaucrats who are above 55 to 60 years. Right? They are only companion. They are not that much fascinated by Instagram, Facebook, or any social media. Right? Their children are said. Just try to think their mind, what is going through their mind. Their children are very much settled. They are not working for something as a district SP or collector. So they have a lot of time left after UPSC hours. What is left for them? Newspaper. They read the newspaper, Indian Express, Hindu, I don't know how many of them. Right? So these things are very much sticking. And since they are taking interviews each and every year, 3-4 years, whatever issues were there, they'll be there in their head. Just try to guess in that way. Right? And keep the stress level low. If you could practice some meditation or something, whatever, deep breathing, whatever.
Yes, sir.
Because the stress will come to you. That is very natural in the very first interview, especially. Right? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Umesh sir. Pranjal, there is very little that I can add to what has already been highlighted by the previous panelists, Umesh sir and Amresh sir. But I would want to have a couple of minutes of conversation with you. You are a very young man, and somewhere you mentioned that you enjoy teaching. You know, you are somewhere a teacher. There is a teacher in you. There is an entrepreneur in you. There is an ideating mind. You have an ideating mind. Okay. But unfortunately, that is not getting projected in your answers. You come across as a slightly overconfident man, and some of your answers, I wouldn't say they were impolite, but your answers were abrasive. You know, there is a certain angst the angry young man of Amitabh Bachchan kind, angry young man. So that angst, over the way things are, that is very much palpable in your answers. A certain discomfort with the system, that this is not okay, that is not okay, this is not right with the system. Okay, now you see this angst, this discomfort, uh, there can be two sides to it. The panel might take it well. I mean, maybe there is a certain panelist who receives it well and sees you as an instrument of change. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Whereas uh, it is equally possible that the panelists perceive you as a nuisance. All right. So there are both the possibilities. Now you would at any cost want to avoid the second possibility.
Yes,
You
sir.
would want to be seen as an instrument of change, and
Yes, sir.
therefore you need to fine tune your response, your language. Fine, you need to stop complaining. Fine, you need to say, a teacher, there is a teacher in you, Pranjal, and teachers always call a spade a spade. That's our noble duty. A teacher must not mislead, must not misguide. So even I, when I am lecturing civil servant aspirants, civil services aspirants, I tell them that yes, this is wrong in our society. There are so many wrongs in our society. Now that's my job to tell them that, this is wrong, this is not okay. But a civil servant is not a teacher. A civil servant might actually have to call, instead of calling a spade, he might actually have to call it a club or even the Queen of Hearts. Fine. That's, I mean, there is always a great element of diplomacy. वो एक character है, एक बहुत famous author थे, Niccolo Machiavelli.
Yes,
Have
I've
you
heard
heard?
of it.
So,
Yeah, I heard of it.
there is something, there has to be something Machiavellian in you at the end of the day. Also remember, the panelists are people who have served in the field, many years in the field, and then they rise along the ladder, and they become policy makers. Initially you don't draft policy. An IAS officer is not a general, he is a foot soldier.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? And a foot soldier must comply. An IAS officer is not a general, he is basically a foot soldier, and there has to be a degree of compliance. All right, so much so I can tell you from my experience in the government sector, you cannot make even the slightest departure from the mandate that has been given to you from your bosses. That is a lived reality. And therefore, if the panel sees you as a rebel, perceives you as a rebel, then it might go against you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, of course, you have to use your intelligence to suggest good changes, positive changes, concrete changes. Fine. Concrete, like I asked you a concrete, name a concrete project that you would want to replicate here in India. So don't answer in vague terms, concrete terms, very clean and clear answers. Try to frame your answers point wise, and there is a fine line between confidence and hubris. Never breach that boundary.
Yes.
Fine. So your confidence is absolutely essential and it's an asset, but it becomes a liability the moment it becomes hubris. Okay. So there has to be confidence, but not hubris.
Yes.
Okay. So, my dear friend, you are much more academically accomplished than I am, and so I need not tell you anything about academics or any such thing. But I must tell you that these are certain changes, qualitative attributes that are necessary in a civil servant. So watch the video again, look where were you going wrong, and you will do wonderfully. There is no doubt that you are a very well qualified person, but you need to understand what a civil servant has to be.
Yes.
Okay, and accordingly bring those changes, body language, unforced movements, like Umesh sir has already mentioned. Otherwise, you're doing wonderfully. I don't have to say anything else. Okay, just one last thing. There is a popular story by Premchand. It's a short story. It's called Sadgati. Could you write that down?
Yes, sir.
Write that down. Sadgati.
Okay, sir.
Sadgati. It's a popular short story by Munshi Premchand. It should be available for free as a PDF document on Google. Download it, read that story,
Yes, sir.
and see if it sparks empathy. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
You are a scientist and a great one, I'm sure. Fine. But bring about a certain bureaucracy in you. Fine. That is palpably missing at this stage. But you have a lot of time. And
So I will work on it. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm sure, you are a discerning person. You will grasp things very quickly. And I'm sure by the time you have to appear for the interview, you will have brought about a massive change from this interview. I'm sure. So my best wishes. God bless.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir, for your submission.
Okay, Pranjal, I'll be very quick. So it has been highlighted already that your interview was there was a bit of informal communication from your side,
Yes, sir.
and you were using. I'll point this out. You were using the words, the phrases. I mean,
Yes, sir.
don't use it.
Okay.
I can give you an example. You have to the words that we are looking for. The qualities that we are looking for is humble and humility.
Okay.
Don't say I can give you an example. Say, sir, can I give you an example?
Okay.
You were using the words actually before starting some answers. Don't use it. It reflects negatively on your personality. Overall, I'll be brutally honest. You were lacking organization in your thought. Your thoughts, your answers could have been better articulated. You have to practice more. You have to talk a lot, give a lot of interviews, talk in the front of mirror, and look at those interviews. Look at those toppers interviews, the mock interviews that they have given. Srishti Deshmukh. Okay. Ashish sir was repeating that word systematically important bank. That is systemically important bank.
Okay,
I think
sorry.
that's why he was repeating it again and again and again in his questions.
Okay.
Give to the point answers.
Okay.
Try to give to the point answers. Okay. All the very best.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Pranjal, I think a lot has been said. I'll
Yes,
just
sir.
conclude. So one point Prateek sir pointed out. And secondly, I would just suggest, in fact, this was a suggestion I was making yesterday to another candidate as well, that don't mention a term unless and until you are sure about it.
Okay, sir.
Just say important banks. Just say banks which are very, crucial for the economy.
Yeah.
The big banks, large banks. Because once you say a technical word, you are expected to tell it correctly, and second, that you are expected to know the meaning of it.
Okay.
Right. You kept on using technical terms like, for example, capital adequacy ratio, etc. Now, when you use such terms, you could be asked questions from there.
Yes, sir.
And especially, banks have moved much beyond the 8% minimum requirement. That is now a requirement for maybe, some of the very, very lacking cooperative banks, probably not for the commercial banks. So technicality of information may be used only when, you are sure about the information. So please keep that in mind. And secondly, in fact, to me, apart from everything, what was most, missing, I wouldn't call it disappointing, was that you almost, you gave a very good kind of a let off to a free hit. The last question was a very free hit kind of a question. No ball aaya, aapko pata, you can't be bold on it. But still, you left it well, So you played a test match shot over there. It is a kind of a lighter question, okay? you can choose to answer in a way that you want to. There is a famous Oxford University debate by Dr. Tharoor. He uses the word reparation, that that England owes a reparation to all the colonies it had. Not necessary that you repeat the same words.
So actually, he said, I think that we expect a sorry from there. We don't expect that much.
That is reparation, right? That is
Yeah,
reparation. It's like kind
Yes,
of a
sir.
पश्चाताप कि हाँ, आपने कुछ गलत किया, उसको आप कबूल कर लो,
Acknowledge. Yeah. Yes.
acknowledge that. So maybe some, but not necessary, that you use the same word. But at least don't let that question go away. Getting
Okay.
it?
Yes. Yes.
Mean something. Maybe on a lighter side, you can say something not informal. That not necessary that you remember the words that were used by Dr. Tharoor. You can use your own wit at times. Some light questions, and depending on the mood with which a question is asked. Sometimes the interviewer will ask you a very light question. Having a very light conversation, you can give a reply which is becoming, obviously it has to be a formal reply, but then you cannot let those questions you can't just pass the buck in those questions. Okay, so these are easy questions which are testing your creativity, right? That can you react to the situation? You are a teacher, your students may ask you many things to explain, may ask you things that you don't know, but can you really take those questions, or you just dodge it down? That is what something I was checking. Okay, so please don't pass the questions which are very, very simple, which test your creativity. Opinion based questions and those questions which test your creativity should not be dug down. Okay, factual questions can definitely be dug down. Okay, the rest all good. You have a brilliant academic record, so capitalize on that. Okay, and all the best. Please work out on the suggestions given by the panelists.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay.
So thank you, Ashish sir. So Pranjal, almost everybody has given the inputs to you. Okay. So if you have any question, you can ask. Okay.
I think, sir, it was a very good session and quite enriching also. So I have many things to work on myself. Right now, I don't have any question. I think most of them have been answered by the panel. So yeah, I think this was a very good experience.
Okay. So thank you, Pranjal. And in case anytime any help you would want, okay, so you can reach out to Prayas team. Okay, so they will connect with you the proper mentor. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And trust me, you are going to do absolutely very good in your interview. Okay.
Thanks for your attention, sir.
Okay. So thank you, Pranjal. Over to you, Akash sir.
Yes, sir. So I thank all the panelists for their valuable time that they took out from the schedule. And I hope, Pranjal, you do very well in the interview and we see your name in the final holy list. So all the best for your interview. And
Thanks so
for
much,
any
sir.
help, feel free to reach out to the Prayas team.
Okay,
Thank you
sir.
so much. Thank you all the panelists for your valuable time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, the panelists also from my side. Also, thanks all the panelists.